It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Damas y caballeros, it's your boy Dave in the 702 coming at you from the fight capital of the world, Sin City, Las Vegas. Joining me all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish. ¿Qué pasa, homie?
What's up, Dave?
Good to have you back on Monday night for that ultimate boxing recap news show known as the Shoe Shine. Drew, man, you saw the picture I just posted. I want to start the show by giving my condolences and a big rest in peace to one of the greatest baseball players ever who is not in the Hall of Fame. I'm talking about Pete Rose. Rest in peace to Pete Rose. Drew, big loss, man. And congratulations to the Phillies for making the playoffs again. A very nice place to be for October fans, Drew. I know you got it good right now, Drew. But you know what? Big news for the San Francisco Giants. Buster Posey has been promoted. Buster Posey, World Series 3, 4, I don't know. I lost count how many rings he got. He got promoted to head of baseball operations. They got rid of that bum who's been cursing my team for all these years, Drew. Ohtani did 50-50 this year. Another milestone in the sport, in baseball. And, you know, maybe someday Barry Bonds will be in the Hall of Fame. Maybe one day I'll get to see Barry Bonds. What they did to Pete Rose was a travesty. Saludos to everybody joining us in the chat. Drew, I have to admit something to you. I'm wearing my Giants hat. I almost cried this weekend. I almost fully cried. Just about just broke into tears yesterday. My wife says, what the hell's wrong with you? You know what almost made me cry? Shout out to everybody joining us. You know what made me almost cry, guys? Well, we're on here on YouTube, right? And shout out to Adam the Woo. He doesn't need a shout out from me. Adam the Woo on YouTube, Drew. He's vlogging out in California. He did a vlog. He went to the very last Oakland A's game, which was this past week, September 26th. The very last Oakland A's game, Drew. And I almost cried watching that 30-minute video. I ain't gonna lie. I shed a whole bunch of tears watching that shit. And I'll tell you why, Drew. As a little kid, you couldn't get free seats to the Giants games, Candlestick Park. But the Oakland A's always gave the schools free tickets. And I must have spent my entire middle school years going to see the Oakland A's, watching Mark McGwire and none other than Jose Canseco, Dennis Eckersley, Dave Henderson, Ricky Henderson. I've seen that team so many times. In fact, one year, when I was a little pachuco, I was in 7th grade. I remember we were sitting right behind the dugout, Drew, and I was taunting one of the Oakland A's relief pitchers saying, "Hey, you suck. You suck." And you know what he did, Drew? In front of all the girls in my class, he looked at me and he pointed right at me and he gave me the bird. And all the girls in my class laughed. Every single one of those girls in my class was laughing at me. Drew, I never felt like such a jackass in my life to have a Major League Baseball player look right at me, right dead in the eyes, and give me the bird. Shout out to the 1989 Oakland A's who beat the Giants, the World Series, Babe Rich. Drew, losing the A's and they're potentially coming to Las Vegas, it's a game changer. I don't know how I feel. All I know is that I got choked up by a bunch of emotions, and that's where we're at. This is a boxing show, Drew. Good to have you, man. Good to have you. We're going to get to our football show for everybody wondering this Thursday. Appreciate that SS Spider Jimenez videos. Productions in the house. SB is in the house. I saw some Theo Media. Appreciate you guys. Friday night fights. Friday night fights on ESPN, Drew. Women's championship. One of my favorite women's boxers, Michaela Mayer, and a whole shitload of drama. Women's boxing. I think it was the greatest women's fight boxing I've ever seen. She moves up from 130 to 147 to fight Sandy Ryan of the UK. And wouldn't you know, before the fight even got started, Drew, there was a shitload of drama, fighting over coaches. And then it got even worse. Did you guys see what happened before the fight? The UK fighter Sandy Ryan was attacked on the streets of New York City. Who was it? Was it the crazy influx of crazy immigrants from Venezuela? Was it a Venezuelan gang? Or was it Team Michaela Mayer, Drew? Who was it? Who done it? Well, they got the NYPD, the finest in blue, on the case. Drew, let me show you a picture of this because this shit is wild. According to Sandy Ryan, who was the welterweight champion of the world up until Thursday, Drew. All right. She's made a statement and she's going back and forth. And of course, Michaela Mayer, who I've met and interviewed, and she's just a fantastic human being. They say they've got nothing to do with this case. Okay. Look at that, Drew. Look at that. She comes out of the hotel, and I believe here she posed nude for everybody. So, but this is what she looked like leaving the hotel. Somebody walked up to her, got out of a moving vehicle, and threw a whole can of paint on her. I do have a question. How did she get the paint on her in the nude? Did the paint seep through? That I don't understand. Can someone help me understand that, guys? That happened on the day of the weigh-ins, Drew. That is some effed up shit. Who in New York City walked up to the champion and tried to douse her in a can of paint? Who did it? We can only speculate. I'm telling you, Michaela Mayer says she has nothing to do with it. I looked on social media. People that knew Michaela Mayer. I looked to in the ring with Christine Lopez, who had a very close relationship with her. She says, she basically said, I can't see Michaela being a part of that. But who did it? Yeah, I'm telling you right now, Sandy Ryan still thinks Michaela Mayer had to do it. And it was one of the best women's fights I've ever seen this year. They need to run that shit back. That fight was so good. We're going to get to that fight in just a moment. Where is everybody? Saludos. Drew, there was other fights on that card. One of them was a 126-pounder. Bruce Carrington of Brooklyn, New York. Top Rank is really trying to build him up. And I was telling you about this guy, Sagawa from Africa, who happens to be training with Lamont Roach. He's Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach is in the news, guys. We're going to get to the Tank Davis news, Lamont Roach. Sagawa trained with Lamont Roach in the fight I saw this summer where Sagawa defeated Ruben Villa of Salinas, California. Shout out to everybody from Salas. Ruben Villa was upset. Ruben Villa was on the verge, ranked number 1 on the verge of getting a title shot at featherweight against none other than El Venado Lopez, someone he had already beat on Showbox. And his world came crumbling down because of Sagawa. And once you know it, the judges got it all wrong in Brooklyn, Drew. A gift decision to Bruce Shoo Carrington. I don't give a F how you slice it or dice it. Bruce Carrington got a gift, Drew. Is it a low? How do you account for that? I think the guy won 6 out of 4. Sagawa schooled him like he schooled Ruben Villa. Hometown decision, Drew? Cooking? What do you think?
I think he won 7-3.
You know,
So
I think so too. By the way, shout out to Jimenez. He says King of the Cage is this Saturday here in San Bernardino. And I think I happen to know who those King of the Cage people is, surprisingly. I think I may know who they are. They're from Fresno. I think so. Yeah, Drew. Sagawa already came into the fight with 4 losses. Obviously, he's a journeyman. He's not a journeyman. He's a very elite fighter at featherweight, but he's gotten the losses in the backyards of people. And here he is stepping into the backyard of Brooklyn's Shushu Carrington. Somehow, Top Rank got Shushu the win. Anybody else think that's funny business? Drew, I got to ask you, the featherweight division is loaded. We got a new champion there, Angelo Leo. I just mentioned El Venado Lopez. El Venado Lopez is supposedly possibly never coming back. He's got to wait for some more MRIs, Drew. He suffered a brain bleed, a pretty serious brain bleed. So you got Angelo Leo now. You got your boy Fulton making an impressive debut at 126. You've got the likes of this weekend. We're going to see Nick Ball, champion from the UK, versus Ronnie Rios of California. Division is stacked with talent. And Carrington gets a gift against a guy that's supposed to be a gatekeeper. In fact, today, I think Coach Hackett, a very famous boxing coach, said dude needs to move up to 130 because obviously he didn't look great at 126, and maybe they're blaming it on. I've seen this thing before too. Remember the guy that Nick Ball beat, Ford? He also had moved up from 126 to 130, and he got kind of exposed. Yeah. He got exposed by Nick Ball too, who we're going to see in action this week. So what do you do if you're in the shoes of matchmakers at Top Rank? You got Shushu Carrington, a guy you thought was going to be the top dog at featherweight, and you know he got exposed this weekend. Do you sacrifice him to somebody like Stephen Fulton, a proven champion?
I don't know. I think you move him up. Talk to him about moving up. If you still think there's money if there's still money to make out of him, you move him up. And everything. Do what's right for your fighter. Say, hey, I don't think this is the right way for you anymore. Let's move you up. And everything. And see where it goes from there. There's fights to make at 130. Like you got Navarrete, Valdez.
Oh, yeah. We're going to see that rematch coming up very soon. Big news in that division too, Drew. Big news. A lot of you guys that are fans of Tank Davis, you don't need to wait anymore. We figured out who Tank Davis is going to fight. He's going to fight this year, Drew, and he's going to fight champion, 130-pound champion, being dragged up. Lamont Roach gets the nod, Drew. Lamont Roach, I like the guy. He's put on some very impressive fights as of late. But again, is it that bad for Tank Davis that he can't fight someone in his own weight division, that he's got to drag up somebody? And mind you, the sanctioning body said to Lamont Roach, we give you permission. You don't have to defend your title. And in fact, you will still be champion. So go for it. Go get that Tank payday.
WBA's like more with PBC, and Tank's not going to fight. Like, they're going to say, Loma duck Tank. Not really. When you offer him $2.5 million, knowing he's not going to take it, Shakur Stevens talked himself out of that fight. He wanted $20 million, and like seriously, what was going to make you think he wasn't going to pick somebody? And then he tried to get Aguayo to drop down to 135 instead of fighting him at 140, and everything. And he doesn't want a rematch with Isaac Cruz, so. Of course he's going to put somebody up in weight. Anything has to put Tank to an advantage, it's going to be like that. And unfortunate, it's going to be like that. And so I don't really I don't give two shits about certain things anymore about boxing because we already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, Drew, it's increasingly hard to keep up our passion for the sport of boxing because there's always some funny shit been going out. And yeah, Jimenez Video Productions, you're still here. I've seen those live streams from the kids' gym. And man, keep doing them live streams from the boxing gyms, man. That's how we keep these young Latino kids out of gang life, out of the criminal element, man. Just keep these kids doing activities like boxing, man. It puts a lot of discipline in them. So Theo Mito, shout out to you. He knows all about that, man. Working with the kids in the gyms, man. He knows all about that too. Shout out to my boy Theo Mito from the 619. Shout out to all the Chargers fans. Chargers lose this weekend? Sorry.
Yeah, they did.
Sorry, guys.
By 7 points.
It was a close game. To who? Kansas?
Yeah, the Chiefs.
Hey, well, at least they made it close, man. Shout out to the Chargers fans and old coach, 49ers coach there. But I got the picture there of Bruce Shushu Carrington, Drew Sagawa. Like I said, he beat handily. It wasn't a close fight unfortunately, against Salinas' Ruben Villa. But this one was a little closer. I still gave Sagawa the much cleaner and effective, harder punches. He was giving Bruce Carrington a lot of problems. Bruce Carrington did make some adjustments, but not nearly enough adjustments in my eyes to come away the winner. And for Sagawa, man, now at 5 losses, this could have been a big moment for Sagawa, Drew, because you remember Elvinado Lopez, He came to Top Rank as a kind of a journeyman, working man, not with no contract, and he upset San Jose's Andy Vences, El Tiburon. He upset him. He was a top ranked fighter. Then he upsets Gabe Flores of Stockton, California, another highly ranked prospect that Top Rank had invested a lot of money into. Had Sagawa got the nod, Drew, he could have been the guy, the new Elvinado Lopez, on the verge of getting his finally a featherweight title opportunity. But you know how the sport goes. You just talked about it, man. Let's talk about some kid that is still giving, he's got a big light shining. I want to talk about Xander Zayas, Drew, because prior to this week, Sonteo Media let us know Damian Sosa had been training in Riverside, right? Riverside out there with Robert Garcia. I had watched just that one fight of Damian, what's his name? Damian, the Samurai Sosa from Tijuana, California. Speaking of Mexicali fighters, Drew, he got his big shot to fight Xander Zayas because of ProBox. ProBox, yeah. Shout out to Lukey Boxing, who writes for ProBox. Gets a big opportunity to fight Xander Zayas. And Xander Zayas that week was talking about, I'm ready for the big dogs. I want Virgil Ortiz. I can't believe he's calling out Virgil Ortiz before that fight. He had one of the best performances I've ever seen Zayas put together. And the fact that he's now at 21 years old, I met him when he was 17. I think he's 21 or 20. Drew, he's not calling out the likes of Virgil Ortiz. That's crazy. That's crazy. Hey. But he's looking good. He's looking good. Yeah. So Damian says, hey, hold on. So Ortiz cooks him. Let's be real. Xander Zayas' experience level is absolutely not there to get in the ring with the likes of Virgil Ortiz. Just yet. Not yet. But is he ready for the top 5, Drew? I mean, he put the beating on Sosa. And just so you know how nice of a guy Xander Zayas is, let me see. Do I got that picture? This was Damian Sosa. Look at him just beating the brakes off of Sosa all night. And he couldn't even break the skin of Sosa. He's a tough guy. No knockdowns.
You know, I thought Virgil got a gift against Bohacek.
But Bohacek, yeah.
Bohacek, I didn't think he didn't beat him. I think I think he clearly lost the fight.
Clearly, but, okay.
Like Zayas, I think in another 6 months to a year, he'll be ready to fight some of these top guys.
Okay, at the end of them, first of all, just so you guys see just how much this kid is so likable. He's appeared on a lot of the podcasts of the YouTube community. He got signed to Top Rank at 17 years old. But him and Damian Sosa went out for some New York. Look at that. Let's just take you out to get some New York pizza after the fight. So shout out to Damian Sosa, Damian Sosa was so thankful. He said, man, thank you for giving me the side. He praised Xander. Thank you for giving me this payday on ESPN, putting me on ESPN. Thank you so much for whooping my ass and taking me out for some pizza. But Xander, for real, dude, he's talking about, I'm ready to fight the top 5. Before we get to those top 5, Drew, I'm going to throw out. Can he beat Lubin? Erickson Lubin. Can he beat a guy on the fringe? Erickson Lubin.
I think he could.
Okay, all right. Jesus Ramos Jr. is a very slick southpaw. They're just a year apart. Jesus Ramos lost to Erickson Lubin on the undercard to Canelo Alvarez and was ranked, I believe, number 1. He was going to get a shot to fight Tim Tszyu. Now he's on the outskirts. Does he beat a southpaw, same height, about the same age, but Jesus has got way more experience against quality opposition, being that he's been raised on the PBC side?
No.
Yeah, flat out no. Okay. Brian Mendoza coming off 2 severe beatings. He knocks out the Towering Inferno, only guy to do that, to beat the current unified champion at 154. He gets his ass beat by Tim Tszyu, all 12 rounds. He also gets destroyed by Bohacek. Does he beat Brian Mendoza with all the experience Brian Mendoza has?
Good step-up fight for him. I think he does.
Okay, that's a great fight. The question is, and I got to ask you guys in the chat, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate Wiley Coyote here too as well. Does Xander Zayas get an opportunity to fight anybody at PBC? Erickson Lubin, Jesus Ramos Jr., who Sonteo Media says Mono's going to come back with a vengeance. He just did win that one fight. Looked really, really good. All these guys are over at PBC. And basically Top Rank is just looking for guys from Pro Box or from here or from there, smaller. I mean, maybe they'll beg Eddie Hearn. You got anybody at 154 to test them? I mean, they don't got nobody over there.
Now, it's a long shot, but how about him moving up to 160 to fight Janabek?
And we're going to see Janabek this Friday. Friday Night Fights is packed courtesy of ESPN. Top Rank lost a bid, so it's actually being put on by No Limit Boxing, which is the promotional vehicle for Tim Tszyu. I think the reason why Xander's making a push for Virgil, not that he's ready for Virgil, and Drew, you think Virgil didn't deserve the win against Bohacek. And those are two other great names. How does he do against Bohacek? I don't think Bohacek is signed to PBC.
I don't think he's going to be able to put up with Bohacek.
Very tough fight. Okay, how does he do against Madrimov, the guy that Terrence Bud Crawford beat?
He doesn't beat Madrimov.
Very, very interesting. See how talented this.
Look at it like this.
Look how talented they are at 154.
I think Madrimov beats everybody at 154 but Bud.
You like them that much, huh?
I think he's too awkward, and I think he's too unorthodox for all these other guys.
Yeah, it's strange. So Santomita says 160 is wide open. I agree with you. I don't even know if Janabek's going to make weight on Thursday, because since the fight's on Friday, who knows if he's going to make weight. He didn't make weight in Las Vegas this summer in July when I went to go see that fight. He didn't appear at the top of the card. Who knows if he makes weight or loses his. What if he loses his title this Friday on Thursday on the scale, Drew? That it's entirely possible, right? But he says Santiago says 160 is open. You think so? You think he beats Carlos Adames or gets a crack at Janabek? Janabek is huge, by the way.
Here's the thing. I think Shiraz is going to beat Adames, but I don't think they're going to. I think the PBC is not going to let him fight Shiraz.
They won't give up the belt so easily, huh?
I don't think anybody at 160 right now beats Shiraz.
Another interesting fight at 160 for somebody very young and inexperienced like Xander Zayas, but very talented, very talented. He was putting together combinations extremely well. His work to the body, just overall, his offensive output is really looking really good, and his boxing IQ is getting better. But he's fighting guys like Sosa, fringe guys, right? He did fight Teixeira, washed up Teixeira, former world champion. You would think that Sosa was a step back, and it turned out to be, in my opinion, not the test they thought. It was a step back, Drew. So at 160, how about a washed up Lara? Cuban 41-year-old Lara, the WBC champ. Does Xander Zayas beat a 41-year-old with a little bit of mobility?
He might be too slick for Xander right now.
Because he did beat Teixeira, and Teixeira's the guy that beat Carlos Adames at 154. There are some easier fights. I think there's really some interesting fights for Xander Zayas if he was to just go up to 160 now. The question is, does he want to do that with all the big stars, Tim Tszyu, Terrence Crawford?
But you also got to realize, is he going to be able to? Are they going to be able to give him these fights? Like I think the only one PBC is willing to give is Brian Mendoza, and I think he should get that fight. Take that fight. It's a step-up fight, and I think that he was an interim champion. He's knocked out a current champion, and it will put you up really in the top 10 for sure, and get you automatically looked at next year for a title fight.
Hey, Drew, Wiley Coyote in the chat's got a great question. We're going to segue into this just momentarily then, because I really did enjoy Oscar De La Hoya's clapback Thursday, attacking Dana White. Drew, the big news, Dana White's getting into boxing. He's really says he's going to start his own production company. He talked about that. He loves Eddie Hearn. He loves Frank Warren over UK Frank Warren. So he's got those connections. Possibly working with those guys to get fighters, maybe, or to put on fights with those two. But he don't want. He made it very clear that he'd be a fucking idiot, he said, to deal with Oscar De La Hoya. So what does Drew Evil think about the UFC's Dana White, who started his life in boxing, putting on his own boxing league?
It's not going to work because he has to have help doing it. It's the only way how he'll somewhat succeed at it.
It's interesting because I was, I usually before the show, I get together all these pictures and whatnot. And I had a picture because there's a rumor going around and I don't got the picture because I thought, no one's going to bring it up or want to hear about it, Drew. But there's some Terrence Crawford big news. A couple of items of big news, Drew, is that the WBO is going to put a purse bid and order Terrence Crawford to fight Fundora, who I think that's a perfect match. It's a unification. Terrence Crawford doesn't want to seem to have anything to do with it. And so the rumor I'm hearing is Terrence Crawford is potentially going to fight Conor McGregor. Drew steps away. Hopefully it's not, his Skype isn't updating. But Wile E. Coyote, there's a rumor going around. We got the big news that Dana White's going to start his own boxing league. And what bigger fight than having Terrence Crawford, who's a free agent, which is perfect for somebody like Dana White. Dana White also has all the resources of the UFC. He also has contractual rights on the career of Conor McGregor still. So why not entertain a fight with, Terrence Crawford is looking for the biggest paydays of his life. He's only being motivated right now by money, unfortunately. I think he would, I think he should clear out 154. I think he should become undisputed champion in another weight class. But Terrence Crawford only has one person on his mind, and that's Canelo Alvarez. And the money that, fighting Canelo, 10 million plus would bring him into his family, the wealth. But a Conor McGregor fight? Oh, that seems really interesting, man. Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather sold over 4 million pay-per-views. It was probably in recent history the greatest pay-per-view event in recent history. So the idea of Terrence Crawford fighting Conor McGregor and being brought to you by the UFC and Turki Al-Sheikh, who is working with Dana, I think it's entirely possible. This shit might not be all rumor. This really could be happening. And apparently, to make it interesting, they're going to offer Terrence Crawford an opportunity to not only just fight Conor McGregor in the ring, boxing ring, but then in the rematch has to take place in the cage. And word is Terrence Crawford is a fantastic wrestler who was an elite wrestler in high school. He can grapple. Everybody always talks about his acumen as a grappler. He can strike. He can grapple. He can learn a kick. I mean, it just seems like there's probably some truth to it. Yeah, Wile E. Coyote also says a lot of UFC boxers will cross over and some of them can box. And vice versa. I'm sure that there are some there's some boxers like Tyson Fury, who in the recent years, Tyson Fury has adopted a lot of kickboxing, Muay Thai and grappling. And it's, Tyson Fury himself, the Gypsy King, has been floating around the idea that he's going to do at least one UFC cage match in his career. So as I wait for Drew to come back, hopefully he comes back. The idea that we're going to get another promotional vehicle, I welcome it. I mean, we heard Turki Al-Sheikh say he wants to start his own boxing league. He made an attempt to purchase some of these boxing promotional companies. Then he became partner with them, Drew. You still stand by the fact that maybe Dana White's not good for boxing?
Here's the issue, man. If we all know it's no secret. UFC fighters don't get paid right unless you're like Conor McGregor or somebody. Like, that's no secret that he don't pay his fighters. They don't pay their fighters well. Like, what's to think that he's going to pay boxers any better? That's the one thing. Who will want to fight for Dana White knowing he don't pay his fighters that well? Like, one championship pays their fighters a lot better than fucking UFC. Bellator paid their fighters a lot better. PFL pays their fighters a lot better. I don't think it's like, I don't think anybody want to fight for that. And like, why would I want to see UFC guys fight pro boxers in boxing matches? Like seriously, like, pro boxers aren't really great in the octagon. We saw that multiple times, except for like maybe one or two that transitioned themselves as MMA fighters and being great strikers because of it, but most of the time they fell miserably. Like boxers, they fell miserably in boxing and everything. It's too much of a handicap for each person. So I think that it is better for Dana White to stick with MMA, and like it's better because, and I think these other promoters should like hope he sticks with MMA, because tell you the truth, it's just gonna make the sport look worse than what it is already. And you don't need nobody else making the sport look worse than what it is now. Got enough people already making this sport worse. You just don't need it again. It's like, I don't want to see Terence Crawford fight Conor McGregor. I just don't see it. It's not really like Conor McGregor's fighting style is not suited for boxing. It's suited for MMA.
Yeah, well, I can clearly remember how he did against Floyd Mayweather. I think Floyd carried him, but there was always still talks that he roughed up an aging Paulie Malignaggi in sparring and whatnot. But I'm just wondering, Drew, you don't think that with the international reach UFC has, that Dana can pick off maybe Olympians that just did the Olympics, that he can pick up national amateur champions from the U.S. that maybe didn't get picked up by Top Rank, didn't get signed by PBC, didn't get picked by Gold. Like, there's a lot of boxing talent globally and in the U.S. And I just feel like if he wanted to, he could start his own farm system and pick up a bunch of young talent fresh out of the Olympics. There has to be fighters that are unsigned. There's fighters that are unsigned all the time.
There's always going to be fighters that are unsigned. But the thing about it is the number one question is going to be, is Dana White willing to work with other promoters to make the fights? And tell you the truth,
well, he said he'll never work with Oscar. He already put that on the table.
That's the issue right there. He wasn't willing to work with other MMA promotions to make the big fights.
That's true.
They had to sign with UFC. Like, they didn't want to do nothing with Pride,
Bellator,
and everything. So what happened? One of the biggest stars, Shogun Rua, signed with the UFC and everything. And tell you the truth, Pride is more dangerous than UFC. Way more dangerous, because they allow strikes to the head, like kicks to the head or stomps to the head on the ground in Pride. UFC does it. It's not the regular MMA. Like, it's a more of a traditional MMA sport, Pride, than it is UFC. And that's why I always like Pride better than UFC.
Yeah, Pride was good to watch back in the day.
I love watching Pride back in the day. I felt Pride was always better than UFC, because the fighters that went from Pride to UFC had minimal success. But part of the reason why they had the success that they had, like, some of them had success, but others, have minimal success that they weren't like big time because of the rules in the UFC and everything. They weren't allowed to do this. They weren't allowed to do that and everything. Like, UFC is not like all out MMA like Pride was, and that's one of the main things. I don't watch UFC unless it's Conor McGregor, John Jones, or maybe Israel Adesanya. They're the only three guys I watch now when it comes to UFC. Like, back in the day, I would watch Chuck Liddell and Shamrock.
Tito Ortiz, Shamrock, shout out to him from San Jose.
Or Dan Severn.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to the Shamrocks. Drew, Wile Coyote says exactly, and do this shit like the Contender Series. I remember when the UFC 10, 15 years ago had these TV contracts on cable, and they were putting on their Tough Enough, where they were going around getting all the top amateur MMA guys, putting them in a house, and it did wildly successful. And the Contender television show for boxing was also wildly successful. That's a formula that I think potentially that Dana White could reintroduce to the new generation, Gen Z, and it makes for great TV. I think it makes for great TV. I think there's a possibility that he's going to have some success, and I'm anxious to see what Dana White has in mind, and whether or not Oscar De La Hoya gives a shit. He's probably going to make his entrance into the boxing world. Just real quick note, Drew, you brought up Pride. I got some news on Japan. And also, I just wanted to clear up right now, from what I'm understanding, Samson Lekowicz, how do I say his name? I've seen him in Vegas so many times. Samson Lekowicz, the promoter for Sebastian Fundora, says the expiration is today, September 30th. The WBO said they had to negotiate the fight between Terrence Crawford and Sebastian, and they didn't get a single fucking phone call. Today's September 30th. Terrence Crawford just celebrated his 37th birthday. That means the WBO really this week is going to have to, they're going to have to put their foot down and order the purse bid. That's the worst nightmare for a boxer right now, with everybody going to purse bid. We're going to talk about purse bids next after this Japanese. No, fuck, we got to talk about this. We got to get into the hot story.
Look at it like this, Dave.
Yeah.
It's going to force one of these fighters to vacate. Like, it's going to force Fundora to vacate.
Fundora or Terrence? I don't think Terrence wants this fight. I don't think he wants to deal with the cheap money. No,
I think Fundora's the WBO champion. So Fundora's being forced to defend.
That's right. I'm sorry. My bad. You're
now if Terrence Crawford, they can, maybe Terrence Crawford doesn't want the fight, but tell you the truth, you waiting for a Canelo fight, dude, just retire. You're not gonna get it.
And going to the purse bid is like the worst thing possible, because we know Terrence Crawford wants the most amount of money, and we've seen what's happening to purse bids. And that leads us to the big story of the week. I ain't even got to Michaela Mayer yet, but this is even bigger. And this has got people so pissed off. Let's talk about purse bids and Devin Haney getting his first purse bid after getting his ass whooped by roided up Ryan Garcia. The purse bid came back, and Devin Haney said, man, I was a $3 million plus pay-per-view, plus this, plus that. And that purse bid came back, and they didn't even want to give $2 million. What was the offer?
Well, he vacated. He became champion recess because of it.
And now we got the big news, the biggest news of the week. So much that even other channels that don't cover boxing, I just checked my YouTube feed, bro. We got some prison channels on YouTube talking about Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia lawsuit. And we are late to the table, Drew. Let's go for it, man. I said this lawsuit was going to happen. I had been waiting for it. And it was just recently filed this past week. He filed it for battery, fraud, amongst other things. But battery is a strange one that I think a lot of people are upset about, because there's been some savage beatings in the sport of boxing that could have warranted a lawsuit. Cotto versus Margarito. No lawsuit filed there. But this is a lawsuit, Drew. I'm so sorry. This is a lawsuit where Devin Haney, the main point is he's trying to set a precedent to say, you cheated with PEDs and you destroyed my brand. By destroying my brand, you've ruined my income. Does Drew Evo think he's got a case? Was this some pussy shit? A lot of people are saying this is the most pussiest, softest shit they've ever seen Devin Haney do in boxing, today's generation. Or is it a smart move?
Fuck Devin Haney. No, seriously, he's a fucking pussy, man. That dude got his ass whooped, man. And even Ryan Garcia told his dad to stop the fight. He was taking an ass whooping and he wouldn't do it, man. This lawsuit's gonna get fucking dismissed because it's a bunch of ludicrous bullshit. It doesn't make sense. Boxing is a sport of fighting. And tell you the truth, it didn't hurt with skill that you couldn't defend a left hook. And in my opinion, Devin Haney needs to shut the fuck up and just move the fuck on. If you're not gonna rematch the fucking dude, move the fuck on. You keep he didn't ruin your fucking brand. You got exposed by Lomachenko, first of all, and you started getting exposed by Loma. And then second of all, you got finished off by Ryan Garcia getting exposed by that you couldn't defend a simple left fucking hook. So at the end of the day, man, let's look at it like this. Devin Haney is one of the sorriest excuses for boxing that there is, and should not even fight again if he's going to put this bullshit up. He's not. Let me tell you something. He did not want to fight Xander Martin. He ducked him.
He was nervous that Xander Martin might be too difficult, potentially, of a test. Xander Martin giving loads of trouble to Teofimo Lopez, beating Mikey Garcia. He just didn't have the confidence. I mean, he had to probably have lacked the confidence coming off.
He ducked him.
Yeah, coming off a tough loss.
Whooping. I'm going to put it on Twitter right now. Devin Haney ducked Xander Martin.
But respectfully, Drew, I got to respectfully disagree with you that this lawsuit is going to lack merit. And I think what's going to happen is that this lawsuit is going to fundamentally change the sport of boxing going forward. I do think that this lawsuit has merit. And because of the fraud, Drew, here's what's bothering me with the opposing argument. The opposing argument is that Ryan Garcia's, that there's no way that Devin Haney is going to win this lawsuit. But he is. And I'll tell you why. Because by fraud, by actually using those PEDs that he was convicted of by the commission, he was found guilty of that. And he basically pled no contest to that in those hearings, to using those PEDs, Osterine being the main one that was found in him, Drew. He actually used his personal money and on camera said that he instructed his father, Henry, to make wagers across multiple casinos and online gambling sites in the tune of $12 million, that he won a total of $12 million on gambling on himself. He enriched himself under fraudulent terms. And the commission, having all the evidence that's going to be presented in court, they're going to find that he used the advantage of being on these PEDs to enrich himself. And in doing so, he damaged the brand of Devin Haney. Devin Haney has all the fucking evidence. I went to purse bid. I'm an independent contractor, by the way. I own my own promotional company, Devin Haney Promotions. And when we went to purse bid, people only wanted to pay me $1 million. What was it? $1 million bucks? He went from 3 million plus gate plus pay-per-view sales. And now he can't get a fucking $1 million because of the ass whooping.
Here's the thing, Dave.
Yeah.
The argument will be like this. If boxers know when fights go to post cannot be negotiated and go to post bid, you are absolutely risking getting a far lower price than what you are accustomed to getting. Now, he could not negotiate a fight with Xander Martin because nobody wanted to pay Devin Haney $3 million. So that went to post bid. And and Devin was only going to get a 60-40 split favorite in this fight.
Right.
And they looked, and then depending on what people buy, they're going to buy for the cheapest price possible. And what happened? Someone bought it for the cheapest price possible. So
he retired.
So at the end of the day, he gave up his belt for that. So let's look at it like this. It's not Ryan Garcia's fault that nobody wanted to pay for you. Nobody wanted to pay for you, period, because they think you were pillow-fisted. And they think that you wasn't entertaining enough.
Drew, I can agree with the argument that Devin Haney was not worth his value, that his value was completely inflated when Matchroom Boxing, when Eddie Hearn, good old Eddie Hearn, who, by the way, Devin Haney turned on. Remember, just last couple weeks ago, he turned on him in the UK saying, what kind of bullshit is this? You don't treat me right and give me front row seats.
One more argument. Who is he fighting? Who is the post bid with? Who was he fighting?
Xander Martin, right?
That is why they thought of it as a born fight, because it's two pure boxers fighting each other that are more defensively sounded and offensively sounded. Like at the end of the day, we're gonna look at it like this. This was probably gonna be a born fight. That Xander Martin was probably going to win because he will be more of the aggressor a little bit in this fight. So, end of the day, Devin fucks himself over on that shit. He's not a guy that's more offensive. He only did the Regis Prograis because he fucking rainbow the shit out of him, and he had him at a rehydration clause.
I got a funny troll in here, Kybation. Who would you think would fight? Drew and I've never squared up. We're on completely opposite sides of the coast, and I'm well into my 40s, and Drew's still a young man in his 30s. So, but shout out to Kai.
I'm about to be 39, man.
And shout out to Nerd. He says, poetic justice. Haney chose Ryan because he saw an easy mark, But now he is the mark. The irony reminds me of the first Wilder versus Fury fight. I got a strong feeling that the jury, when it goes to trial, is going to award Haney damages. And that's it. They're going to either, if it goes to trial, that's because if I'm Ryan Garcia's attorneys, I'm thinking really clearly about how much these damages are. And you might want to try to settle out of court because essentially Devin Haney is looking for, if he really made that $12 million gambling on himself, I want some of that money because I lost a lot. I've lost a lot. I've damaged my brand. And he's actually continuing to hurt and damage his own brand by putting together this lawsuit because it's uncharacteristically of fighters, of any fighter. It's never been done. He's trying to set an example. Either way, it's kind of a lose-lose. He's damaging his brand. People are liking him even less on social media. He's losing his star power. And basically it's all because he hopes to get, peel off a few $1 million off of Ryan Garcia's personal wealth.
The Haney's made asses out of themselves during this whole build-up and everything. It made themselves more asses after the fight. Nobody takes the Haney seriously anymore in boxing. Like, the one guy that actually had your back out of all this, you fucking turned on. And he said, fuck you. And then you cried because you couldn't get free tickets to a fight and you had to get scrap tickets behind Terence Crawford. And they said, I want to move to 147 fight Terence Crawford. He moved up to 154, Devin. You're not fighting him. You probably get your ass knocked out anyway. So now they had a fight schedule. They had a fight negotiate with him and Liam Powell. That shit fell apart because they don't think Powell's the right matchup for him. Like, here's the thing. When the fuck are we going to see Devin Haney fight again? Be saying, taking all this bullshit about suing somebody. When the fuck are you going to fight again?
Well, bro, when he sized up against Terence Crawford in the UK at Wembley Stadium just a week ago, he looked huge. So
and Terence Crawford looked up and said, "Yeah, I'll still knock your bitch ass out, you pillow faces bitch."
Haney might want to look at joining the welterweight ranks. If not, there's big money fights for him, man. He got Liam Paro, easy money. He can make that fight easy. And an even bigger fight is him and Teofimo Lopez. Come on.
Teofimo will stop him.
And that's a big fight. By the way, Devin Haney. Devin Haney, born and raised in Oakland. Will the A's make it to Las Vegas? I don't know. Drew. They're going
to be in Sacramento for at least 5 years. Don't count on it.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be in Sacramento for the meantime. They may just end up staying there. They're trying to buy them out. Nothing is set in stone. To all y'all who watch my Vegas stuff, my Vegas material on this channel, they're going to implode that casino, the Tropicana, like next week, Drew. I think it's October. It's coming up. And they don't have a guarantee they're going to build the A's stadium.
I'll tell you this right now. You want to know what would be the best option for them?
What's that?
Bring back the Expos and put them in Las Vegas.
That's a great idea. By the way, Pete Rose, we started off the show, rest in peace, Pete Rose. He was a great Montreal Expos player. And my stepdad, shout out to my stepdad, one of his best friends from Venezuela was one of the best Expos players. Andres Galarraga, first baseman, 400 plus career home runs right out of Caracas, Venezuela, and then played for the Giants at the end of a career. Great team. The Expos were a great team. I love the idea. The Las Vegas Expos. Wow, that's a good idea. Yeah, man, the A's and their ownership, I can't say anything good about the Oakland A's ownership at this point. But let's get on to that main event that I never did get to talk about, Drew's Michaela Mayer, who's featured in the intro to our show against the UK Sandy Ryan. Sandy Ryan viciously attacked with paint. And she says it even worse, Drew, that they made little flyers of her and that they were throwing flyers around Madison Square Garden saying she was this and that. Who did this shit? But the fight was great, man. Great women's championship fight. 10 rounds, 2 minutes, 20 minutes. Should women fight 3 minutes?
No.
Should women fight 12 rounds?
No.
All right. Well, it was a hell of a fight. 20 minutes. Hey, 20 minutes, whatever. It was a fantastic championship women's fight. One where Sandy Ryan was hitting Michaela Mayer with heavy shots, but Michaela Mayer definitely outlanded her in volume. And Sandy Ryan today, she's back in the UK and says, we need to run this shit back immediately. If you're Michaela Mayer, Drew, do you give her a shot?
No, because I tell you the truth, I think she lost the fight. I thought Sandy Ryan actually know the more harder and the more effective punches.
Interesting. Let me get the I got the scorecard here, and it's always an issue how you score, how people want to score. This is Sandy Ryan's statement. She made this statement on social media on X, still trying to come to terms with what happened last night. I know I shouldn't have fought after I was attacked leaving my hotel, but I couldn't let them win like that. I was fighting off empty and still felt I won the fight. We have obtained CCTV evidence and are in contact with the NYPD. Pretty obvious what happened, and the truth will be set free shortly. You tried to ruin my career, but trust me, it's only just begun. Now there's some seriously bad blood, and I think this fucking merits a rematch. What else? What else? But the card, one judge had it a draw, Drew, which I didn't completely disagree with, and another judge had it with Michaela 96-94. But that's actually the scorecard, I think. But in your case, you think the person who lands the heavier shots over volume?
I look at it like her punches didn't really do much effect to Sandy. I think Sandy's punches did more effective, and I think some of those punches Michaela Mayer threw did not land. So I had it. I actually had it 7-3.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm excited the idea that they may run it back at some point. I haven't even mentioned, but Alicia Baumgartner returned on a random ass boxing promotional company. Alicia Baumgartner, after her PED scandal, Drew, she got dropped by Matchroom. I mean, c'est la vie. She's on social media saying, I'm an independent contractor. I don't have the picture of Alicia Baumgartner on the scale. She fought the same night, Drew, on Friday.
Oh, trust me. I saw that.
So we see the picture on the scale, and I got to ask you, she looks softer. She looks softer to you? She looked more feminine, less muscular. She looked like a woman, surprisingly. And so did, so did that other UK fighter that's still with Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn. Conor Benn, boy, he don't look the same after he was caught, especially inside the ring. So I don't even know if Alicia Baumgartner won, Drew, but that's a rematch that still has some potential. I mean, I'm pretty sure Michaela Mayer.
Contest.
I'm pretty sure Michaela Mayer would like to fight her again. She's got bad blood with a lot of people.
Michaela lost that fight easily. I didn't think it was more competitive. I thought she clearly beat Michaela. You're not gonna be. You can't just throw jabs for the whole 10 rounds and expect to win a fight like that.
Yeah, but she fought much more better on. I'm sorry, this Friday night. I was impressed by how she pulled it together to pull off the victory. Boy, they don't have. I'm looking for the results here. Boxing scene has, okay, here it is. Delphine Persoon, a former world champion herself. Did she beat Delphine Persoon? Anybody in the chat?
Yeah, it was rule of no contest because of an injury before 4 rounds were completed.
Okay, so you did keep, you saw it? It was not some random ass. You saw the highlights of that? No contest?
Yeah, she knocked her down.
All right. Junior lightweight undisputed champion Alicia Baumgartner returns to the ring and steals thunder from clash of heads in a disappointing no contest. So I expect them to rematch then. No contest.
I don't think they're gonna rematch. I don't think Pursuit's gonna pursue that rematch.
Interesting, because Pursuit doesn't seem to be one to shy away from tough challenges. She's a world champion herself. That's a shame. Well, I'm glad there was a definitive win, and now Michaela Mayer is now a 2-division world champion, champion at 130 pounds, and now winning another title at Madison Square Garden on the other side. Shout out to everybody just still joining us. Let's get to this weekend's fights, Drew. Back to Friday night fights. Janet Beck, the 160-pound champion, takes on a Mikhailovich. Why should we care? The middleweight division is trash, but it's this Friday. Brought to you by No Limit Boxing and association with ESPN Plus and Top Rank. Friday from Australia. I have no idea what time this fight is.
It's probably gonna be the same time that was it normally fights in Australia, 10 p.m. But I'm not interested in it. We don't even know if Janet Beck doesn't loses the belt on the scale, are you gonna think he's gonna fight still? Probably not.
Yeah, I've seen him sized up with like people. I think I've seen a picture of him and Canelo. He's not only, dude, he looks like a light heavyweight, Janibek, and he fights at 160. Compared to Canelo, he looks like the light heavyweight. He looks like he belongs in the ring with somebody like Dimitri Bivol. Height, shoulders.
Like someone really said that. Someone really told me if he loses the belt on the scale, he's not gonna fight.
Damn.
He's probably gonna say, you know what, I'm not fighting. If I'm not fighting I'm not fighting to defend my belts, I'm not fighting. And everything. And what happens? They're probably gonna try to sue him for breach of contract. Well, but he's like, I didn't make weight, I'm not gonna fight.
If he doesn't make weight, loses his title on the scales, he can join the fray at 168. They'll welcome him into that division. He'll be a big name, former world champion. He also won't have to fight somebody like Hamza Shiraz of the UK, a very hot contender right now, a massive beast. Because they're going to mandate that fight at some point. Hamza Shiraz is going to become a mandatory. The Adames or Janibek, he's going to be the mandatory. I'm sure he's ranked close to number one by some of those boxing associations.
Well, he is the number one ranked fighter at 160 in WBC.
For Lara, then. Oh, he beats Lara. He beats the crap out of Lara.
He beats anybody at 160. He beats the shit out of Janibek, too.
Yeah, so who knows? Well, I'll be looking forward on Thursday, Drew. Actually, if we do Tailgate Talk, we should find out on Tailgate Talk whether or not Janibek made the scale, because he did fail to make the scale in Las Vegas in July, guys. Nerd says Janibek and Shiraz both too big for 160. They should move up for some real smoke, and I happen to agree with that. I remember last week I was trying to say that there's a bunch of guys, at least three of them that I think are weight bullies, but great fighters that I'm very much interested. That's Shiraz, Diego Pacheco, and the Towering Inferno are all weight bullies. They're all massive beasts. They should be fighting the likes of each other. All those three guys. And throw Janibek in the mix, man. He really should be fighting as super middleweight against the likes of the people we've been watching, Christian and Billy, Jaime Munguia. Even Berlanga. Berlanga versus Janibek. Two guys that from Top Rank now. That would be a great fight too. Well, Drew, there's some very exciting featherweight news. I love watching this guy, Nick Ball. And I don't know if this is going to be televised on Saturday, but shout out to Ronnie Rios, man. Ronnie Rios, 34 years old. I was watching his interview on Pro Box. Ronnie Rios gets another crack at a world title. He's 34 years old. He's fought everybody. He's got Nick Ball this weekend after a very, very impressive performance on Pro Box. He's fought MJ Akhmadaliev, the former 122 champ. He's also fought, let's see here, Hovhannissian. That's a guy that Asad Hovhannissian, the guy that Shakur Stevenson fought. He's fought world champion Ray Vargas, come up short at the StubHub in Carson City. He's got a ton of experience against world quality guys. He has moved up. He's up to 126 now. He's 5'7.5". That's bigger than Nick Ball. But Drew, Nick Ball should have got that win against Ray Vargas, right?
Yeah, he should have. I thought he easily beat Ray Vargas. But
Me too.
I don't know. Ball knocks him out. I'm calling for a ball by knockout.
And Nick Ball is ferocious. And now that Elvinado Lopez, who I thought would have been the perfect dream matchup at featherweight championship for a unification, now that he's potentially may have to retire because of that brain bleed, that leaves Nick Ball as the only wrecking machine Mexican-style fighter in that division. And he's fighting Ronnie Rios, a guy that can box. Has been in a lot of wars, tough fights, so I don't know how much he's got left, but he's promising to give it his all. From born and raised in Compton, man, I salute you for going across the seas, across the pond, as they say, taking on Nick Ball, who is in his peak. I don't see an upset, bro. The best I can see is that Ronnie Rios puts on one of the best fights of his career as he contemplates retirement. A featherweight at 34, 35. He talked about he was working full time last year. He had a full time job. Crazy to think you're working full time in some completely other industry, and a year later, as you turn 34, you're getting another world title opportunity in the UK. Absolutely crazy. So no upset there. Any upsets this weekend in boxing?
No.
Hey guys, it's been a great show, a great Shoe Shine Monday night. 60 minutes in, perfect timing. We got a lot of football news to talk about, Drew. We got a lot of football news. Things are dramatically changing. What was anybody got the final score? It's important. Let me see. Seahawks. Thank God. Detroit Lions pulled it off. Seahawks are not 4-0, Drew. I don't know how you call the Seahawks are now 3-1. Detroit Lions 3-1. The 49ers are within reach of these Seahawks. 49ers should be 3-1. ASB, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to do football talk this Thursday. Wiley Coyote says, imagine if Canelo had a full-time job and still puts on the kind of fights he does. That would be some shit. Today I read, Drew, that Canelo Alvarez's tequila company, VMC, they also make this delicious tequila soda drink in a can, seltzer drinks.
Yeah.
That shit is blowing up. I had it. They gave them to me free in Vegas, and now I'm seeing other YouTubers with their Canelo Alvarez tequila seltzer cans. Congrats to Canelo, Drew. That shit is popping off. People are buying that shit all over the U.S. One of the hottest selling tequila soda can, whatever, seltzers going around. Nice, huh? Drew, any final thoughts on the sport of boxing this week?
No.
All right, guys. I'm Dave in the 702 Philly Irish. We'll be back Thursday night for Tailgate Talk. Until then, peace out, everybody.